question. As a tax resident in Spain, would my kids be subject to inheritance taxes on assets that I leave to them if they're American citizens living in the US and the assets are all US based?
Well, I think in that case that would go to the US Situs. The people that is inheriting everything, it's from the US.
Right. So this, from a US perspective, we're getting to the issue of tax domicile from a US perspective. And it's not captured in tax code, like whether you are a tax resident or a US tax person is, by the green card test, a substantial presence or being a citizen, that's in the code, that's section 7701. But with the domicile rules, we're really looking at case law. And so we need to look at the case law and your situation. Essentially, we need to look at your intent plus deliberate action to establish whether you are actually domiciled in Spain from a tax perspective, from a US tax perspective. Are you not US tax domiciled, or are you US tax domiciled? The advantage to being US tax domiciled, at least for the purposes of we don't have inheritance taxes, but we have estate taxes. So for the purpose of estate and gift taxes, that, the advantage would be the higher lifetime exclusion. So right now you probably have about 11 million that can be excluded by the lifetime if it is you deemed to be US tax domicile for the purpose of transfer taxes. If you're not, then the threshold on the US Situs assets is actually about $60,000, which is pretty low. And then above that, it gets pretty aggressive in terms of the tax regime. So again, it's good that you're thinking ahead. These are great questions to ask, and you'd want to get some sort of consult on estate and gift taxes to see how best to manage the situation and create the scenario that you want, where you may wish to, for the purposes of the Internal Revenue Service, establish that you are US tax domicile for transfer taxes, so you can enjoy that 11 million exclusion. So again, consult needed, I would recommend. There's a part B to that question. Would my wife be subject to Spain taxes on US assets that I leave to her as a tax resident in Spain? I'll just touch on the US side before I hand over to Ricky. Same principle as with your kids. It depends. In the US, the person receiving does not pay. So whether the person receiving the gift or receiving the inheritance, they don't pay. It is the estate or the person that's passed away, or the person that's giving, or the estate of the person who's passed away. That is the tax burden falls on them. So to answer your question from a US perspective, your wife would not have anything to worry about, but the estate may, and whether or not the threshold would apply depends on, as previously discussed, whether you qualify as US tax domicile for transfer tax purposes or not. Ricky?
Yeah, so in this case, if the wife becomes Spanish tax resident and she's the one receiving the inheritance, of course she will be subject to inheritance tax here in Spain, because she will be taxed for the worldwide assets that she has been receiving. Even though the assets are in the US, she will be taxed on that.
Please subscribe, like, share, and comment below. Our books and upcoming events are available at htj.tax. Email us at help@htj.tax to engage us, to advise on international tax or business matters.